Good afternoon. First to breaking news. A popular zoo packed with visitors at the start of the school holidays is this afternoon a crime scene after a woman was found dead. Canberra police have arrested a 29-year-old man after discovering the woman's body inside a commercial kitchen at the National Zoo and Aquarium. He's since been taken to hospital where he remains under police guard and the zoo is now closed. We'll bring you more details as they come to light. Detectives investigating the deadly shooting of underworld figure Alan Muradian have charged a man they believe was involved. The 22-year-old faced Fairfield Court today on a murder charge and allegations he used a tracking device and phones to organise the attack. Security videos also been released of two other men seen with a firearm in the Bondi Junction car park where the attack took place. A new report has identified serious flaws in our defence sector, calling for it to be scaled up in case of conflict in the Indo-Pacific. The research also suggests we're too reliant on overseas industries. Here's Josh Martin.
Yes, this role would essentially be a chief public servant who would bring together government and local industry to deliver the munitions, weapons and equipment that our Defence Force needs in the event of a conflict. The report by the Australian Industry Group and ANU is calling for the federal government to implement a range of policy changes to expand the defence industry sector. It found the current policy lacks purpose and has a project-by-project approach. The goal is essentially to remove a reliance on overseas industry and supplies and to develop a supply chain here that would be ready in the event of a major conflict. The report says the risk of a war in the Indo-Pacific is real. It highlights China's recent military activities in the South China Sea and Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
If and when we engage in conflict, and we all hope that we don't, we want and need our warfighters to win. A robust industrial sector becomes increasingly critical, ensuring the swift mobilisation of resources.
The Albanese Labor government is spending record amounts in defence industry, but we can do more. And one of the things we're looking at is how do we prioritise more? How do we signal to industry that these are our priorities, these are the areas we want you to invest in?
The Albanese government is expected to address these issues when it releases its defence industry strategy in the new year.
Bruce Lehrmann's defamation trial has seen two new witnesses take the stand today, including former news boss Peter Meakin, who advised 10 on the Brittany Higgins interview at the centre of the trial. Meakin agreed the project was going further towards identifying Lehrmann than an article on the alleged rape published by News.com. The project identified the man in question as working in the office of Defence Industry Minister Linda Reynolds and moving with her from a former portfolio. There's been a scare for Joe Biden, a driver colliding with one of the cars in his motorcade in Delaware. This was the moment it happened. The US President and First Lady had just left campaign headquarters when the driver slammed into a Secret Service vehicle that was being used to close off intersections nearby. Mr. Biden wasn't hurt and was ushered into another waiting car. Now to the rapidly evolving flood emergency in far north Queensland. The region has been hit with its worst flooding in more than a century, and emergency crews are struggling to reach people stranded on their roofs as the water rises. Here's Garth Burley.
Good afternoon. Well, the water may be slowly subsiding in the far north, but communities and crews are still battling challenging conditions from this flood disaster. Rain is continuing to batter parts of the region. Emergency warnings for the Barron, Russell and Mulgrave rivers have now been downgraded, but a major flood threat remains in 3 other river catchments. Some areas, that downpour has been relentless, close to 900 millimetres in a day in Bairds in the Daintree. Overnight, close to 300 people were rescued. Some scrambled to their roofs, waiting nervously for hours for help as those waters were rising. Emergency crews are today preparing to evacuate the entire town of Wujal. However, it has been a logistical nightmare to reach the stranded, with aircraft battling dangerously low cloud cover and heavy rain. Locals have also been pitching in to help with the rescue efforts of both people and livestock. And today, the Prime Minister has confirmed military support with the Defence Force to both transport emergency services personnel and equipment into the flood zone, as well as offer 4 Army helicopters.
We know you've had a tough night. I want you to know that every single resource available is being allocated to keeping you safe. Far North Queenslanders know how to deal with natural disasters, but this one is, this level of rainfall is next level.
Supplies are running low in Cairns. Locals have been told to conserve water with a dwindling amount of clean drinking water. However, it's not expected that will run out. Flooding has also affected the airport, which remains closed. Every inbound and outbound flight from Cairns was cancelled today as this flood emergency continues to evolve.
The death toll from the conflict in Gaza has risen this afternoon. Israeli strikes on a refugee camp, killing as many as 90 Palestinians. A teenager has been killed and others injured after a maternity hospital in the Enclave South came under heavy shelling. Meanwhile, aid trucks arriving from Egypt have been mobbed by desperate civilians. Jacqueline Robson has the latest.
Well, there's scenes of utter desperation and fear, people swarming aid trucks as they cross the Egyptian border into the Rafah region in Gaza's south. More than 1 million people have been displaced there. Many are also trying to find shelter as winter sets in. The UN World Food Programme has been warning of severe food and clean water shortages, with medical supplies also drying up. It's confirmed half of all Gazans are starving, with no idea where their next meal is coming from. Israel has now agreed to allow UN aid trucks to drive directly into Gaza from the Kerem Shalom crossing for the first time during the war. This is the main transit route, allowing faster delivery of aid. Today, Israel's military took reporters through a large tunnel shaft as a demonstration of the difficulties of wiping out Hamas. It says it was used during the deadly October 7 attack.
This is the Sinwar project tunnel that was meant to do a terror attack on the Erez crossing.
It comes as Pentagon Chief Lloyd Austin travels to Israel. The United States Defence Secretary will meet with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to drill down on what metrics are being used to measure the success of this war and what milestones will take it into the next phase. The US wants to see the large ground offensive scaled back, and despite world sentiment on this war shifting, Israel has vowed to keep fighting.
More than 1 million drivers across New South Wales may receive a Christmas gift from the government for simply following the road rules. They could have a demerit point scrapped from their licence, but only if they've had a flawless driving record over the past 12 months. Taylor Aiken reports.
Good afternoon. Well, as the Christmas road rush nears, the government have reminded drivers what's at stake this holiday period. 1.3 million drivers are still on track to being eligible to have a demerit point wiped from their record if they continue to follow the rules and stay out of trouble before January 17.
Tough penalties for people who do the wrong thing, but encouragement, a demerit point back for those who drive safely.
Today, announcing the trial would be extended for another 12 months, but will be monitored closely as the New South Wales road toll approaches a record for 2023. 349 lives have been lost on the state's roads this year, with analysis showing that while speeding and drink driving fatal crashes are down, the number of people killed for not wearing a seatbelt has risen.
We're seeing a lot of injuries of young people in the back of vehicles because they're not wearing seatbelts.
With the opposition blaming budget cuts to road safety schemes.
That at a time when the road toll is increasing, the government is in fact cutting road safety programs.
Double demerits will be in place for 11 straight days this holiday period, beginning this Friday and lasting all the way through to New Year's.
Nathan Lyon has claimed his 500th Test wicket. He joins the rarest of company as Australia claimed their first victory of the summer.
By Vultures. All hail the Lion King.
Etched in cricketing history.
Joining only 7 others in the world to reach 500 Test wickets. 2 of them the greatest ever Australian bowlers. Shane Warne, Glenn McGrath, and now Nathan Lyon.
And I'm sure all of you across Australia can appreciate what perfection you've witnessed over this career.
All eyes were on the GOAT on day 4.
500 test wickets. Did you believe that could ever happen?
No, God, no.
Lyon was closing in. Finally, with only 4 to choose from, it took a review, but he only stayed on 500 for 3 balls. The next came without doubt.
Oh, got him. He's got 501 with a shooter.
Next up, Boxing Day at the G.
With more, Matt Carmichael joins us now. Matt, what a moment for Nathan Lyon. How's he managed to dominate the game for so long?
Pure hard work, Angie. I think the amazing thing about Nathan Lyon is he's played probably at least half of his Test career knowing that there was always this sort of search in the background that they were looking for someone better than him, pretty much since he started. And there were games when he'd turn up and there'd be other spinners in the squad, like there was a Steve O'Keefe one when they were looking to drop Nathan Lyon, and this is halfway through his Test career. So he sort of played with defiance almost all the way through, and then he's just gradually had that confidence just to keep growing and growing as a player. He's just absolutely won over the adulation of the public throughout his career as well. I think they called him the GOAT almost mockingly at first, like it was a bit of a facetious nickname. It well and truly has become earned, and I just love the way Nathan Lyon has almost just by pure will of himself has got himself into this position. It's a fantastic story.
Yeah, never taken it for granted. It's always a bit unfair to compare any player to Shane Warne, but do you think Nathan Lyon's become one of the game's greatest players in his own right?
Well, he's by far and away, as an Australian, our greatest off-spinner. There's no one even close to him. So for what he's done in that way, you can't compare to Shane Warne because it's obviously 2 different things and 2 very different people. Where he came from, people love the story. He was an assistant groundsman at Manuka Oval in Canberra and then Adelaide Oval. And he looked the part on the roller and the mower, and then he came in, took a wicket with his first ball in Test cricket. And he's just gone on. And I just think because he's relatable as someone who was a bit of a battler, that's why the people love him so much and they see where he's got to. But underneath it, and he's very modest and humble, he's pretty chuffed with himself too, Nathan Lyon.
It's a great story, isn't it? Boxing Day next for, can we expect any changes to the squad?
No, they've named the squad, and Lance Morris, who was the reserve bowler, has dropped out. The fast bowlers didn't work too hard in this Test, so they'll go again. It's business as usual. Marnus was cleared of his broken finger. The conditions should be a little bit more friendly to Pakistan, so hopefully they can put up a bit more of a fight, because as much as we love seeing the Aussies win, we want a bit more of a contest than probably what we got there in the second innings.
Competition is good, but we're off to a good start. Thanks very much, Matty.
Thanks, Angie.